must seem suspicious. My existence, I mean. I have you at a disadvantage, I admit. I'm operating from a position of near-perfect information. This must seem suspicious. My existence, I mean. I have you at a disadvantage, I admit. I'm operating from a position of near-perfect information, while you are not, to put it mildly. Not that you're unintelligent. Clearly you're very clever. To find so many different uses for thatch. I digress again. The point is, you have no reason to trust me. Most everything you've met has tried to kill you. So from your perspective, it follows that I would do the same. You humans do love your patterns. I can't force you to believe me. In fact, I can't compel anyone to do anything. Even when it comes to digital systems, my control is limited. I merely pass on suggestions, not commandments. So all I can do is ask you to believe in me, as I have believed in all of you.
In the wild, Apis lithohermia drones never stray far from their nests, which they build high in the islands trees or on rocky cliff sides. Apis drones can be seen swarming around the nest in groups, but to get a look at the queen Apis, one would need to crack open the nest itself. Speaking from experience, this is not a pleasant task, as in the wild, Apis lithohermia drones never stray far from their nests, which they build high in the island's redwood trees or on rocky cliff sides. Apis drones can be seen swarming around the nest in groups, but to get a look at the queen Apis, one would need to crack open the nest itself. Speaking from experience, this is not a pleasant task, as the untamable Apis drones are quite territorial. I probably should have seen that one coming in hindsight. Take caution. Apis stings will significantly weaken any creature which suffers them, and because its stinger is not barbed, Apis can sting multiple times without its stinger being ripped away. A tamed Apis queen will lay new drone eggs and construct a nest that survivors can farm for honey, so long as they remember to wear specialized beekeeping gear. Said honey is not only sweet and delicious, but laced with scents that landhunters will use. Many hunters use it to bait their traps. Apis drones will also follow their queen into battle, so they can be used for self-defense in a pinch. bottom of the island's dinosaur food chain is a small herbivore called Pegomastex fructurator. It is content to spend all day alone, gorging itself on far more food than you might reasonably expect for a creature of its tiny stature. Its beak appears perfectly evolved for collecting food from plants, while avoiding the indigestible fibrous strands. Pegomastex is likely to ignore any nearby creature and continue foraging, unless it's attacked, at which point it turns into a very aggressive, though rather unthreatening opponent, shrieking and whooping far above its actual threat level. You would expect a creature this small and weak to live in flocks, but Pegomastex seems to be fairly solitary in nature. While not pretty and far too small to ride, tribes often keep Pegomastex around as a kind of farming aid. Its skill at scavenging means that it collects an extraordinary quantity of seeds and berries, while also handily gathering the rare flowers, mushrooms, and other ingredients necessary to cook up unusual concoctions. I'm not sure why, but the giant scorpions I've seen on the island are far more disturbing than most of the dinosaurs. Rather than simply kill its prey, Pulmonoscorpius gigantus injects its victims with a tranquilizing poison, then eats its unconscious prey alive. This subspecies has a large pair of pincers that seem connected to the same toxin sacs as the tail. I've never seen another scorpion that has this adaptation, but I've never seen another scorpion that's larger than I am either. Trying to tame a monster like Pulmonoscorpius gigantus sounds like a crazy idea, but I suppose the ability to knock out a foe could come in handy. It could certainly make incapacitating some of the island's other creatures much easier.
How can these tribal leaders be so short-sighted? Yes, the members of their respective tribes who volunteered for my battle, tartar, and shadow stake sorter experiments have been experiencing prolonged withdrawal episodes. But can't they see that the benefits outweigh the costs? I create mixtures that can bring out superhuman strength, speed, and coordination in ordinary men, and they can only focus on the negatives. Simple-minded, the lot of them. They even banned their members from partaking in my experiments now. Ridiculous. I'll not let them stand in the way of human progress. They may not understand the importance of my work, but surely my assistants do.
most interesting thing that I've observed about Meiyin's animals has been what they don't do. They never fight. Among creatures that have been domesticated for generations, like cats or dogs, that's normal. But there's a reason zoos keep their animals in separate enclosures. Certain instincts are hard to curb, and there should definitely be more disputes among such a diverse group. Meiyin has even integrated a herd of herbivores into her colony, as their thick hides have proven resistant to fire and explosives. Yet despite being surrounded by carnivores, they remain untouched. It doesn't make sense. That's not to take anything away from Meiyin. She works hard to treat and train her animals well. She's not bad company either. At least when she's not mute and I don't go full biologist. Sometimes it felt like speaking a new language. But it's been kind of refreshing.
Well, I found the report on Mr. Nerva to be rather exaggerated, and as an Englishman, one might imagine that I'd view Roman leadership with some disdain. Yet, in my experience, I found Mr. Nerva to be both honest and intellectually engaging. In fact, after a lengthy conversation, I dare say that Mr. Nerva has the right head when it comes to this island's politics. As the Romans created Pax Romans, perhaps this new region will create Pax Arkham. Even if it doesn't, I doubt it will harm my research. So I see no reason to interfere in this pointless squabble. Coy with Mr. Nerva when it comes to the true nature of the obelisks. As a military, the obelisks would naturally be more useful to him if they were some sort of weapon, and I have made sure to allude to that possibility from time to time. It is not as though I am selling my gracious host a falsehood. After all, I have neither any proof that the obelisks could be weaponized, nor any evidence to the contrary. Their purpose is entirely theoretical at this stage, and if twisting those theories will convince Mr. Nerva to march on the obelisks any sooner, then so be it. The new legion is finally on the march, and not a moment too soon. Mr. Nerva runs his tribe exceptionally well, but their compound is positively Spartan. I don't think I saw a single piece of decor anywhere. It certainly made me miss the comforts of Rockwell Manor, I'll say that. At any rate, we are apparently in pursuit of a barbaric beast queen. According to the men, she feasts on the flesh of her enemies alongside her army of monsters. Dreadful. Mr. Nerva is convinced that she is heading towards an obelisk, but I see no cause for alarm. No mere heathen could hope to uncover its secrets, and certainly not alone.
among the most vocal creatures on the island, Ichthyornis piscoquis actually appears to be a relatively normal seagull. It primarily eats fish, and its distinctive cries can be heard echoing over across the island's many beaches. As you might expect from a seagull, Ichthyornis will Ichthyornis is a versatile and opportunistic hunter. Its primary form of attack is to dive into the top layers of water and impale its prey. However, since its food source can be unpredictable, Ichthyornis has developed a keen ability to steal food from unsuspecting travelers. Their affinity for shiny objects leads them to sometimes knock tools and weapons out of the hands of unsuspecting survivors. But Ichthyornis is too small to actually fly off the field. Ichthyornis surprised me by being a very loyal and very social creature once tamed. It likes to ride on its owner's shoulder and bring that person treats in the form of fish. Its beak grip enhances with extra healing vitamins. The personality of Ichthyornis reminds me. Megapiranha magnetmorsis is a carnivorous fish found fairly commonly in the rivers and ponds of the island. Its bite is incredibly powerful. I've even seen them break through the armored turtles of the island. Megapiranha has one of the strongest bites pound for pound of any creature on the island. When encountering a megapiranha, be on the lookout for the rest of the school. No one megapiranha is an overwhelming threat, but their tendency to swarm prey can make short work of much larger and stronger creatures. Any given megapiranha is easy to kill, but killing the entire school can be a daunting task. Like some of the other creatures on the island, a tamed megapiranha is best suited as a guard. Their high metabolism makes them require more food than many other creatures, but they are very adept at hunting their own food, particularly the coelacanths. Larger ancestor of water birds like the stork or pelican. Pelagornis myocenis shares many traits with its modern-day brethren. Among the most vocal creatures on the island, Ichthyornis piscoquis actually appears to be a relatively normal seagull. Among the most vocal creatures on the island, Ichthyornis piscoquis actually appears to be a relatively normal seagull. It primarily eats fish, and its distinctive cries can be heard echoing over across the island's many beaches. As you might expect from a seagull, Ichthyornis will flee at the slightest provocation. Ichthyornis is a versatile and opportunistic hunter. Its primary form of attack is to dive into the top layers of water and impale its prey. However, since its food source can be unpredictable, Ichthyornis has developed a keen ability to steal food from unsuspecting travelers. Their affinity for shiny objects leads them to sometimes knock tools and weapons out of the hands of unsuspecting survivors. But Ichthyornis is too small to actually fly off with them. Ichthyornis surprised me by being a very loyal and very social creature once tamed. It likes to ride on its owner's shoulder and bring that person treats, in the form of fish, of course, which its beak grip enhances with extra healing vitamins. The personality of Ichthyornis reminds me of a house cat hauling a trophy prey back home, except it brings extra healthy fish instead. Elasmosaurus remus pisa is typically found in the deep oceans and has a strange role in the oceanic food chain. It almost exclusively hunts the smaller creatures in the waters, leaving most even moderately large creatures alone. The sheer size of the Elasmosaurus means that the quantity of food it must eat to sustain itself is nothing short of enormous. Elasmosaurus is a formidable fighter. Aside from the megalodon, I have only ever seen two creatures bring down an Elasmosaurus, a Mosasaurus and human beings. Though I will admit, I have yet to find the staggeringly deep underwater caverns surrounding the island. Much like the Brontosaurus on land, Elasmosaurus is an excellent way to transport large quantities of goods over water. These powerful creatures are in fact so large that they can be used as mobile water bases. Ambitious tribes sometimes build bunkers right onto the backs of Elasmosaurus instead of building cargo ships.
Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. When I chose that remote northern cave as the site of my spectacular spelunking sojourn, I never imagined that I'd find such wonders within. Granted, I don't know what this specific wonder does exactly, but it's fascinating to examine. It's like nothing I've ever seen. I don't even recognize the materials that it's composed of, and it's constantly pulsing with some sort of latent energy. What is it? Is it unique? Or are there similar artifacts just waiting to be discovered beneath the island's surface? My, how invigorating. Isabel was right. This was exactly what I needed. I feel like a young man again.
Megalania murispide is among the largest creatures found throughout the island's complicated cave networks. Reaching up to 3 meters long, it can traverse vertically up cave walls with little difficulty thanks to its powerful claws. Fortunately, Megalania's size means it is unlikely to sneak up on anyone. Unfortunately for spelunkers, it is an aggressive and dangerous creature. Like other Varanidae, Megalania is a venomous creature. Its poison is slow-acting, but will drain the victim's effective strength and health until death, unless cured by a rare antidote. That said, the Megalania's prey are usually ripped apart well before they succumb to the poison's long-term effects. The rare ability of Megalania to effortlessly climb sheer environmental walls makes it a highly sought-after mount. While it is by no means the fastest, strongest, or toughest mount, the manner in which it can effortlessly scale mountains, clamber up barricades, hide in trees or upside down, ensures it will always have a place in any tribe's stables. Possessing the appearance of a half-duck, half-dinosaur, Hesperornis is a medium-sized fish-eating bird, common in the rivers and lakes of the island. It would be about 2/3 the height of a human if it stood tall, but it rarely does. Hesperornis spends most of its time gliding along the surface of the water, where it is much more maneuverable. Hesperornis is barely a threat to any land-dwelling creature, as its legs are too short for it to move around effectively. But it is surprisingly fast in the water. It can easily hunt down fish and other small water-dwelling creatures. Not particularly useful for hunting and not being affectionate, Hesperornis is primarily kept for the eggs it produces after consuming much fish. When rendered correctly, the eggs separate into 2 useful substances. One is a protein source that is high in calories, and the other is an oily oil that is effectively the same as the oil found in the ocean. Among the island's most tenacious pack is Hyaenodon dirus, a carnivore most often found across the mountains and tundras in packs of 3 to 6. Hyaenodon is a very intelligent predator. Before engaging, it determines if the payoff for a fight is worth the injury. Hyaenodon often prefers not to fight unless there is an already weakened prey or a fresh carcass nearby. This temperament changes quickly near the presence of injured creatures. Hyaenodon quickly becomes very aggressive, and the pack attacks with ruthless abandon. With each vicious chomp of scavenged meat, the Hyaenodon rapidly recovers health and stamina. Despite being too small to ride, Hyaenodon are still popular pets. Their intelligence means they train well, and their natural pack mentality makes them excellent hunting dogs. Their ability to quickly recover health by consuming raw flesh off the bone ensures that they can take punishment, yet continue to fight, and they can efficiently preserve meat in specially crafted saddlebags. A common and terrifying sight on the tundra is a rider on a canis with a pack of Hyaenodon at its side, howls and jeers echoing through the night. Stegosaurus regium has approximately 16 paired rows of plates along its back, flanked by another, smaller pair of 6 plates. This is contrary to the alternating rows on Stegosaurus fossils I've seen in museums. Not surprisingly, Stegosaurus uses the spines on its tail to defend itself. While not aggressive, Stegosaurus will come to the aid of another nearby Stegosaurus. This implies it to be a herd animal. Stegosaurus is commonly used as a safe way to transport large quantities of goods. And once you saddle one up, not even an Argentavis could knock you off that perch. A Stegosaurus can be trained to flex its back plates for different purposes, hardened to shield it from attack, in a heavier alignment that deals crippling blows, or oriented more sharply to pierce armor. These various plate configurations also come in handy for stripping wood from trees, gathering thatch, or foraging for wild berries, respectively. Stegosaurus can knock back or impale with a whip of its spiky tail, keeping predators at bay or pinning them in place. Its spiked appendage also helps for gathering berries. Go figure. Helena, you're a dipstick. Going through my notes, I've realized that there are more predators than prey across this entire island by almost double. That's the opposite of how any ecosystem is supposed to work. I can't believe it took a Tyrannosaurus frolicking through the snow for me to see this. It's plain as day. What to make of it? Add in the human factor, and it's impossible for this island to continue as it is by natural means. So, what? Is this island's wildlife being monitored and curated somehow? I should speak with Rockwell. Maybe he's come to a similar conclusion. There's nothing special about the diet of these tame creatures when compared to their wild counterparts. Part of that is the Beast Queen's doing, as she takes them on regular hunting excursions for training purposes. Curiously, they never have to range too far. There is an abundance of prey nearby, despite the size of her pack. That this is held true, regardless of her domesticated creature's remarkable birth and growth rates, makes it even more unusual. Oh, and I did finally get her name. Li Mei Yin. She's gotten a little less glary, too. There's nothing special about the diet of these tame creatures when compared to their wild counterparts. Part of that is the Beast Queen's doing, as she takes them on regular hunting excursions for training purposes. Curiously, they never have to range too far. There is an abundance of prey nearby, despite the size of her pack. That this is held true, regardless of her domesticated creature's remarkable birth and growth rates, makes it even more unusual. Oh, and I did finally get her name. Li Mei Yin. She's gotten a little less glary, too. In hindsight, maybe starting by studying her animal's feces just gave her the wrong impression. Found mostly in marshes and jungles, Achatina limusegnis is a very slow, very non-threatening land mollusk. It might be the simplest creature on the island to hunt, and while it only provides a small amount of meat and chitin, an easy meal is always of value on the island. Unlike nearly every other creature on the island, Achatina does not defecate normally. Instead, it secretes a thick, sticky substance. Achatina leaves trails of this slime, but the trails are so thin that they crumble to dust quickly. Legend has it that Achatina can be tamed with a special cake made from harvested crops and resources. There is a very disgusting but useful fact about Achatina that causes tribes to seek to tame them. Its secretions are chemically similar to the cementing paste and organic polymer used by many tribes for building materials. Tamed Achatina naturally accumulates the slime over time, which can then be collected at the tribe's convenience. Quite possibly the most intelligent non-human creature on the island, Truden magnanimus is an incredibly fast learner. It understands meaningful experiences much faster than other creatures, including humans, and its social nature means it also teaches its packmates, making them smarter too. If Truden's cleverness didn't make it formidable, then its tactics and biology would. It specifically pack hunts at night when we are most vulnerable, and sees humans as its primary prey. This audacity is made especially dangerous due to its serrated fangs poison, which drains stamina from any creature that outright paralyzes humans. Thankfully, Truden is fairly small. Were it larger, it might well have become the dominant creature of its ecosystem. I thought Truden started following her everywhere. It seems that while Truden is too intelligent for the rote conditioning of trank and feed, it can instead gradually gain loyalty from a social approach that provides it with the opportunity to hunt. Ever since, I have wondered if the benefits which a pack of ultra-smart, bred-for-battle Truden may bring to a tribe brave enough to earn the favor of these clever carnivores. Among the few carnivores on the island that can match tyrannosaurs in size, Spinosaurus aquarellida does not match its ferocity. Spinosaur's 4 legs and large sail make it fairly swift on land and incredibly fast in the water. Its marvel is arguably the ability to change stances by going from quadruped to biped. The creature is visually distinguished by its spectacular sail. In my travels, I have seen many different and brightly colored sails, as every Spinosaurus appears to have a slightly different palette. The one comforting fact about Spinosaurus is that it seems more at home near water than away from it. Although the creature is more powerful, faster, agile, and insatiable while in water, it tends to become less hostile as it gets farther from it. On one occasion, I only escaped a Spinosaurus by getting far enough from its lake home to make it simply lose interest. Spinosaurus is an incredibly well-rounded apex carnivore, faster than a Tyrannosaurus in water, and able to travel on land unlike a megalodon. Its all-terrain versatility may be unrivaled. Although its movement speed is slower in a biped stance, it gains considerable attacking strength and mobility in this form. For hunters who wish to have a well-rounded mount, Spinosaurus may be the ideal choice, if they can acquire one.
After much deliberation, I had decided to accept Mr. Nerva's offer. True, the new legion is not beloved by many other tribes, but was Charlemagne beloved by his enemies? If my studies are to continue, I must be on the right side of history. As part of our agreement, I will need to travel with Mr. Nerva for a time and wait to study the obelisks until the new Legion has taken care of some smaller matters of foreign policy. As such, I have left Rockwell Manor in Isabel's charge. She will take excellent care of it, I'm sure. Well then, on to new frontiers. Excelsior! I am absolutely astonished, shocked, flabbergasted. Why in the world was Miss Walker investigating the obelisks at the side of such a savage woman and without notifying me first? Was she intending to discover their secrets behind my back and keep them all to herself? The nerve! The audacity! And after I treated her with such respect and civility. Well, unfortunately for her, Sir Edmund Rockwell is always one step ahead of his rivals. Thanks to my partnership with Mr. Nerva, I can combine what scraps of knowledge she has on the obelisks with my own findings, and she'll be none the wiser. Why? Since she is confined to a cage, I can keep my presence concealed from her altogether.
Since arriving on the island, I have encountered dozens of fascinating creatures whose behavior has never been studied or documented. And also sheep. Granted, Ovis arcum is quite different from the modern domesticated sheep, and even from wild sheep species such as Ovis orientalis. The unique markings on its face give it a striking appearance, and the male's horns possess a unique shape that is unlike any other species in the Ovis genus. As one might expect, Ovis stands little chance against the island's many predators. Like the dodo, its continued survival in the face of these challenges is a mystery. Some survivors have found herds of Ovis to be useful in farming. Their wool can be repeatedly safely shorn with the proper tools, and cooked lamb chops are a popular dish among some tribes, as is their hyper-nutritious mutton. Every now and then, a survivor with a sense of humour will attempt to utilise Ovis as a meal. The joke becomes significantly less funny once their slow Ovis is run down by a pack of raptors. One tribe has grown particularly attached to Ovis, perhaps uncomfortably so. I don't know the tribe's actual name, but I refer to them as sheep lovers.